Okay, hello everybody. Thank you for showing up for the training. It's 11:30 a.m., so I'm gonna start. Housekeeping. It looks like everybody's muted themselves. Thank you very much. Please continue to mute yourself. This new version for me, I can't find the button to mute everybody, so I have to go in one by one if you guys misbehave. So if there's dogs barking in the background and whatnot. So anyway, thank you for muting. We will record this, which is really nice. I can't post it on our website, but I will send this recording probably tomorrow or Monday to everybody, to all grantees. So we will have this. So if somebody is not able to attend this live, they can watch a recorded version at least. So there we go. So that'll be good. The other thing is, since we're all muted, could you please, and I like to have a written record of the questions anyway, so could you please, if you have questions, at any time you can use the chat box and send them in there. That seems to work out really well. And at the end of this time, I will take questions. So if you have any questions, that's fine. So thanks very much, and let's get started. Okay, so yeah, this is me. I'm Rick. If you haven't met me before, Amy is not moderating, although she's in Portland, watching intently. So I'm flying solo here, moderating this. So good luck with that. I am recording this. I figured out how to do this, and everything seems to be working. So there you go, I guess. Okay. All materials relating to this grant can be found on our webpage. I think you guys all know where that is because that's where you went to download everything. But there is a link to it, a web shortener, a bit.ly shortener, Oregon Farm to School, and then you click on the Oregon Farm to School grant section, and it looks like this. This is a fresh screenshot of this taken just a while ago. So updated. So that's what our webpage looks like, and you would click on that, what is in the red circle, the Farm to School grant. That's our main page, and then it looks like this pretty much. Although it's been updated this morning too. So everything that we're going to be talking about is on the right-hand side, the education grant. The procurement grant is on the left-hand side. That's the reimbursement for food, which this is the educational activities grant. So that's where you go to find your resources for stuff. Keep checking the website as there's always updates. And if I have anything major, I have two versions. I have a listserv. We have over 1,000 subscribers to that. And pretty much from here on out, I'll use the listserv for the procurement grant because there's 24 grantees. So it's going to be pretty easy to, AJ or myself can talk to you guys. We can send out a blast with 24 emails, so we don't have to worry about that. But we do use the listserv, or we will let you know individually because it's an easier group to manage. But yeah, it's a requirement to participate in the grant to sign up for the listserv just in case too. That's our preferred method for major changes for all things grant related. And a lot of the grants are interrelated, so it's good to be kept abreast of everything. So yeah. So we have a new email for help, and I think this was on the RFA of this, but it's farmtocmp@ode.state.or.us. If you wanted to use the shortened version without the ODE, and that works, I'm told, these days too, but you can still email us individually, both myself and AJ, at those two email addresses. And we will have a third person on board. We are interviewing very soon for that person, a part-time position. So we will have another person to our Farm to School family shortly. So far it's us two. And then, yeah, so I want to make sure it's clear. This grant is we operate in a school year calendar. And the biennium is for both school years. This school year, 2019, in 2020, and then next school year, 2020, 2021. Okay, our agenda today, we're going to go through an overview. We're going to go through allowable and unallowable costs. We're going to go through advances and your agreement, the EGMS, which is the electronic grant management system that we use, super awesome, state-of-the-art system. I'm joking. Reimbursement process and requirements, review process, reporting, and questions. So that's what we're going to go over today. Okay. So congratulations on receiving award. We had 24 grantees this year. We had, I believe, 57 people apply for the grant, and that was the most we've ever had. But hang on just a second. Okay, so that was the most we've ever had for people applying. It ended up that we didn't award a lot more awards because we had a higher ceiling this year. We had up to $200,000 could be awarded, and it was a very competitive process. It was very, very competitive. A lot of super good awards that weren't awarded. So there's that. Now we do have, I'll just say, just in case your friends or some of your people that you know of that haven't applied, we will have a second phase of this, and it's looking like right now what we've committed to is to do some mini grants of up to $10,000. And we, I need to get you guys going first. I need to get this going, and then, so probably mid-February is what we're counting on to get that going sometime later this winter. But for right now, I need to get this thing up and running so you can get going. So anyway, you received an email a while ago, or somebody by us received an email. Probably the person that sent in the application was the one that got it, with an award amount and links to the website. It referenced the agreement letter, attestation form that you're watching this video, Excel claim reimbursement form, and the EGMS info and instructions. And I just went on there this morning to make sure all that was updated. So all those things are there, or there might be a note that says it's planning to be there soon. So there's an agreement letter. It says, once the agreement letter is signed and returned, and you're set up in EGMS, you can start utilizing your funds. Now, this grant is for one period. Okay, yeah, so this grant is, remember, it's this school year and next year. It ends at the end of June on 2021. So June 30, 2021, everything has to be spent by then. But I want to talk about the agreement letter. Okay, so we used to be, back in the good old days, I've been running this grant since 2012, for 8 years now. And I used to be able to do my own agreement and have it approved by my boss. He'd look at it and say, it looks good, and I would send it out. You guys would sign it, and we would start going. That is not the case anymore. Our procurement department has told us that we have to go through the Department of Justice with all of our agreements and use a different agreement than what we're used to. So you're going to have to be patient with us, as this takes a bit of time to get going. Now, I apologize for that. I mean, I started this process back in last June. I already turned in my agreements last summer. And we just got the procurement grant all finalized and done, so that's good news. But we have an 11-page boilerplate I need to work on. It'll probably take a couple weeks to get that going, and then we have to get it approved and sent over to the Department of Justice. So it'll be a while. We have to have that signed and returned before you can start getting reimbursement claims processed. So apologize for that. It's new, it's growing pains for us, but it is what it is. So So there. So, okay, onward. So a little bit of a timeline. Next fall in September, we'll have a progress report due, and I'll talk about more about the reporting later. As I said, June 30th, 2021, all the funds need to be spent, and I have to move my little box to see what I wrote. All products must be received. And what I mean by that is that if you buy anything like a wind tunnel, or you're setting up, you're buying some garden implements, or you have to have that received by June 30, 2021. You can't like buy something and have it be shipped to you in the next summer. So everything has to be taken care of within the time frame of the grant. So from now till June 30, 2021. There's a little bit of time to process your claims after the grant ends. And so I put around July 31st, 2021. I say around because EGMS has its own thing when it'll generate an automated response that's might say a different date. So the important thing to realize here is that I know nonprofits, they need to figure out all their accounting and stuff like that. You want to try to get as much of that stuff done beforehand that you can, and wait till the very end that you're trying to push towards getting everything spent. But after June 30th, there's a short amount of time. It's probably going to be about a month before EGMS closes down for the year. So I've had people, we keep a good eye on AJ and I, especially her. She'll keep tabs on this and be contacting you and talking you guys through if you don't have money spent and what your plans are. But what we don't want to get into is like after July 30th, like some people have tried to turn in claims in the next September. It's like, nope, we can't do it. The money's gone. After a while, the money goes back to the legislature. So you don't want to be in that situation. So you want to be timely as you can and work with your accounting people or whatever, so we get things turned in. So, and then there's a final report and I'll talk about reporting again, but final report is due at the very end of the next fall after this closes, September 30, 2021. Okay. Like I just said, you will receive automated emails from EGMS, typically towards the end of the grant period. When you get set up for EGMS, you'll get an introductory automated saying you're ready to go. So there's that too. But they will generate emails, and they confuse people because they may have different dates than what I just shared. So it's just like they might say 30 days out from we've had wacky days in the past. So just try to count on having everything spent by the end of July of 2021. Okay, I see some questions coming. That's good. I'll get to them at the end. Keep them coming. If you have a question, that's fine. Okay, so if the law stipulates that, what is this? I can't track. The grant funds have to be used during the school year. We have to establish different dates than the system has. So anyway, that's the law stipulates that we have to use the funds by the school year. And so that kind of trumps everything for this. So, all right. So this is a reimbursement grant. Some people have a hard time. I've said that in the RFA and the frequently asked questions when people applied for this. And if they're not, they don't like that. I was kind of blunt. I said, well, you shouldn't apply, because you know what you're getting into. But it is a reimbursement grant. And however you can, this was new for us last time. You can request up to 25% of your award in the form of an advance. The award notification will have instructions on how to do that. Well, it's basically you just send me an email, me or AJ, say, Rick, I would like advance, and say up to, usually everybody, when they do one, they'll do a 25% one. You don't have to get an advance. There are some requirements with that, which I'll get into, but if you do want one, just send me an email saying that you want to do that, and do it by, I said January 15th. So within the next week or so, you should know if you want one or not. So email it to me and do that by January 15th if you can. So if you receive an advance, this is what I was talking about. We have some stipulations about this. You have to have it justified by the following process. So you save all your documentation. You do that anyway with any claim. You save your documentation, your receipts and your invoices associated with things you bought or paid out in terms of your labor or whatever. But you save all your documentation. You record your purchases on the normal Excel reimbursement claim worksheet, just like it would be a claim, because we need to see it in the items in the different category. And then you would scan copies of your invoices or snail mail it to us. You can scan them and send them to our email address there, or send it to AJ or whatever. But along with the worksheet. So we need to get your advance and justify it. We give you the money, then as soon as it's spent, you do all this. You get your receipts, invoices associated with the things you bought with your advance, record all of those things on the Excel reimbursement worksheet, and send scanned copies or snail mail us copies. And then we do, I think it says the next one, we do a desk audit on the advance and email you the results. So like we will, like if you're over or under, we can make up for it within the frame of the grant, the time frame. But then you can submit regular claims from that point on. So you can't claim any funds until your advance is justified. So that's just our little rule that we had to have if you get an advance. So before we could go into claims, we need to justify your advance and do a desk audit on it. I've gotten a few requests already, I think 3 of them so far, and we're keeping track of those. At least, this is a change from past years. It used to be 80-20, but we changed it. At least 75% of your award must be directly related to implementing food, ag, or garden-based educational activities. And yes, that counts for planning and all that stuff in there. That's part of that. Part of the educational activity can be planning. But the other 25% is other reasonable things related to administrating, but not implementing the program. So some of these might be some of your incidentals or your, if you have, some things just aren't related to a actual activity lesson. Like if you're going to the farm to school conference, like your registration fee for that, it's not really related to your educational activities, not like a lesson or anything. You're not teaching kids hands-on, but you can use it for, like that or something. So those are the parameters. Directly related to the educational activity or reasonable costs that aren't. Okay, next. So yeah, so some of those things these are allowable and unallowable costs. So administrative costs, just please be specific when you're describing your administrative costs. They should relate directly to the educational lesson, or if in the activity section, or if they're not, they go in the other section. And I'll get into that. I think coming up next is the actual reimbursement worksheet, and it'll make a lot more sense, hopefully, there. A little note about labor. We can't fund full positions. Like you can't say, oh, we want to hire a 0.8 FTE or a 1.0 FTE full-time person, but we can reimburse for hours. So if you list it as hours times wage plus wage and plus benefits, that is acceptable. So you just keep track of the hours you do it, because we can't fund a full position because realistically 100% of the time might not be related to educational activities. So that's why we do it that way. This is different than other grants that we don't fund permanent capital equipment. Movable, transportable items could be. I'll give some examples, like sometimes somebody wants to put in a produce washing station that's plumbed and bolted to the wall. That's not allowable because it's permanent. But then I have somebody that buys a stainless steel sink off Craigslist and it's hooked up to a hose in your garden, and that certainly is allowable because you can unplug it and move it around. So it doesn't have an asset tag or, capital equipment. Vehicles like cars and trucks aren't allowable. We've had issues before with Department of Ed where we've had those and there's been an accident and lawsuits, and so we've gotten out of that business. So there's that. I get a lot of questions about greenhouses and things like that can be provided. You need a greenhouse to do your lesson. You're teaching kids about greenhouse stuff, so that's allowable. But we don't want to fund like footing and cement pads. As long as you can dismantle it and move it, and we'll pay for those components of it. So, all right, hang on just a second while I move my box around again. Okay. Yeah, as I said, we have a Farm to School conference coming up. It used to be called the Summit on February 12th and 13th. That's the 2 days right before Valentine's Day. It's at the Oregon Garden again this year, I think our third time in a row. You can use your funds in the other section for staff travel, lodging, and registration on the summit for learning all about stuff those days. So we have 1 day is procurement and 1 day is education. So the education day would really fit in with this nicely. Okay, you submitted an Excel budget worksheet and a narrative. If there's a major programmatic change to your budget, you have to revise your budget and send it to me. If it's not major, you don't. I get a lot of questions on this from time to time. So it's basically like this, like, hey, Rick, we were going to do a tasting table on carrots, and the carrot crop failed. Now we're going to do a tasting table on peas. I don't care. That's not a major programmatic thing. But if you're going to say something like, hey, we were going to do tasting tables and now we're going to scrap that and do greenhouse education thing, that's totally different. And so you would need to kind of rework your budget and submit it to me again for okay. So that's how that works. Okay, this is a little bit of review. Agreement again. I guess I talked about this earlier. I apologize. But yeah, you won't be able to participate in the grant until we receive the signed agreement with you, and it's being developed. So I'm working on that as soon as I can. I have a placeholder for it on the website right now in the resources section. It says it's coming. And so just, again, please be patient with this as it's being developed. A new 11-page agreement is being developed with our procurement department. It has to be approved through the Department of Justice, and it's a new process for us. And in order to get your funds, you have to be an electronic grant management system. This is what I was snarkily referring to before. It's a very old program. How many of you guys, you don't have to answer, but a lot of you people are returning grantees. Our EGMS process was made in-house many years ago. It's a Windows 95 platform, and it's still around. And it's pretty old and archaic, and it's very crashy. It just crashed last night, and how fun. But yeah, so it's we were planning at some point to replace the thing, but we have no idea at this point what we're going to do. It is what we have right now, and it does work. I mean, there is an EGMS packet available on our webpage, and you go there and you print that out. If you've been If you've been in this before, it'll go a lot easier. We'll just have to update that, I believe. But yeah, it's an antiquated system, but you print out the packet, fill it out, send it in to us, and we'll get you in the system. There's that. And so let me see, what else can I say about EGMS that would be really helpful for you guys? So the process happens when, like, I'm going to get into the, we don't get into the, or I'm sorry, we will get into the Excel worksheet in a bit, but after you submit a worksheet, we process it in EGMS, and I tell you to go ahead and put the dollar amount in there, and then it goes to one of our assistants, and they batch it and they put it for a signature. It takes about, after we process it in the system, it takes about a week for you to get a paycheck cut and sent to you. It'll go electronically probably. It just takes a little bit of time. It's not an instantaneous thing. It takes about a week when it is the process happens. Okay, I'm seeing your questions. Thank you for submitting them. Keep continuing to send questions on the text. Okay, so for reimbursing, what you have to do is you have to fill out the items on your Excel worksheet, and I'm getting to what they look like in a bit. You submit the Excel worksheets to us at ODE, and you can send it to the Farm to CMP address that I shared before, or myself. If you send it to myself, Amy, we'll get it to the right place. This is a little different than the advance I talked about, because we want to see those invoices. But when you're doing a regular claim, you keep the invoices, receipts on hand to support that claim. We don't want to see them. Okay, we will someday. What we tell you to do is, like, if you're doing a claim, let's say you're doing a claim for February. You're putting everything in a file. You send me a claim in February. And then if you're selected for review, we'll want to see them. Oh, and I'll talk about the review. But you just keep everything in one file to match that claim. Okay? And so we look at your Excel claim form. We look it over to make sure all the costs are allowable. Then we say, okay, put the dollar amount in EGMS. Go in, because EGMS, when you go in, you just put in $1 amount, but we want to see all the amount, all the items, all the things. We copy them and put them on a master sheet and keep track of them and sort them and stuff. So where we get into problems is people will just put in the money themselves first in EGMS, and if there are problems, and there usually are, then we have to reject the claim and it gets messy. So don't put it in EGMS first, send it to us, we'll okay it, and then tell you to put it in EGMS. And it works out well that way. And then again, just so you guys really see it hammered home, and it's in red in big bold letters, don't put the dollar amount in EGMS first. Put the amount to us in the claim form, send it to us, send it to Rick or AJ, and we will look it over and tell you it's okay to put in EGMS. Yeah, if there are problems, we have to reject it, and it gets really messy on the sheet because those things never go away. They're there forever and ever. And so when you see a bunch of stuff rejected, it just looks really icky and messy and it looks terrible. I'd like it to be correct the first time. Okay. So we suggest doing monthly claims. A lot of people, I can tell some examples, some of you guys that do regular monthly claims, that is great. We really prefer that. If you do one every other month or every 3 months, that's okay too. What we'd like to see is for you guys doing claims and not waiting until the last minute. That makes us really, really cranky. We have to make sure all this money is spent, and there's no time for us to react if you wait until June of 2020 or 2021 to get all this done. So that's why we like to do, and I'll talk about this in a few slides, I'm sure, but we suggest doing monthly claims, or or at least some sort of regular claims. Yeah, you retain the backup documentation, invoices and receipts, keep them in a file to support that claim. Just like I just said, keep the copies of the invoices to support the claim you're submitting. And then the next time you would just start a new file, new Excel claim file for your next one. You could clear out your other one or download another one from the website or whatever. So we just get a new one next time. Okay, remember Excel reimbursement claim worksheet is located on the resources section on the grant webpage. They're there, so I updated that this morning. And here is what it looks like this year. So when you open up your Excel worksheet, this is what it'll look like. The first tab is the instructions tab. It's kind of the grayed out one on the left, even though it's there. This is just examples, and it'll basically tell you like how to do. You just enter items in like you're doing, like there it says like county printing, nutrition ed class printing supplies, one batch of $56. Pretty simple stuff, and then you'll have an invoice that'll back that county printing one. I misspelled printing. Home Depot supplies for greenhouse hydroponics lesson. You don't have to list every single item on that receipt, but you will have a receipt that might have everything. So you need to know what they are though, like so you can identify, yeah, we bought shovels and trowels and things like that. Hopefully the receipt will have that on there. Yeah, I wouldn't want to see a receipt that just had numbers on it because that's hard to do. So if you had that, you might have to jot the things down while it's fresh in your mind, but so we know what they are. But you could just put the total amount for the receipt on there. You don't have to list 30 pages of all the different shovels and things like that. That's that's fine. So there's some miscellaneous examples, and then I put it labor. I like to see it like this. Like we said, grant applicant has hours for school garden coordinator for hydroponics lesson in January, 35 hours at $18 an hour equals $630. So, and then benefits for above, and you figure out your percentage how you do, but I just put it in there like that. So that is something that we can track that, and hopefully you will have some sort of accounting where you can justify that if we ask to see if you get called for a review. You just need to justify that. Okay, so the next page is, this is the main, that was the instructions page, this one here, that's the instructions page. You don't add, you don't put anything on that page, but you do on this one. This is the same thing, but it's blank. So this is where you add everything in. I changed this morning. It says enter school district here. It actually says enter sponsor here. So this was a leftover from past years when it used to be more a school district thing. So I fixed that. So here's the activities tab. It's the same thing, but it's blank. And then here is a page for the other items that aren't related to educational activities. Something like your planning or your farm to school conference attend fees, something that's not related to your lessons directly. Okay, all the items roll up to your totals tab. And then I have that. Okay, the totals tab is next. ODE, we will enter the previous claims on that, make sure your balance is correct, and send the file back to you by email, instructing you to enter the total dollar amount in EGMS. So here's what it looks like. Everything on those other tabs rolls up to this. The grantee contact page, it rolls over, so you don't need to do that again. Matter of fact, we say this, do not enter anything on this tab. Some of you guys still do. Try to be helpful, and you try to do your own thing, like and do a different formula. If you do that, I'll just clear it out and redo this anyway. So please don't, unless you're one of my 2 people that do it perfect every time. Food Roots, I'm talking to you. You're doing it perfect every time. But anyway, So just everything rolls over here. We will enter your total award and B13 there. We enter any of your previous claims, and we send this back to you, and it'll have your remaining balance on here, and everything's it worked really great last year, except for when people have changed my formulas and it didn't make sense. But so anyway, everything rolls over to here, and we enter items and send it back to you. So works pretty good. Okay, adequate progress. This is what I was talking about. Like, we would like you to do monthly claims, but if you don't do monthly claims, you should do something, do some claims. This is probably my number one problem I have with this grant. We had someone last year that waited until literally June 30th, 2020 to submit a claim. And that's bad on us because, I mean, we were warning and we have the right, if you are not making adequate progress, something we say adequate progress is like you should be halfway through your money spent halfway through the grant period, 3/4 of the way, 3/4 of the way through. That's what we define adequate progress. And that's easy on our tracking sheet. We could put a little filter formula on there so it will highlight when at a certain date when that isn't being met. And it's really easy to find those people that haven't spent anything yet. We will, Amy will warn people and say, hey, you haven't done anything. And we give you a few of those warnings. After a while, you're in breach of agreement and we have the right to take money back. Now, we bent over backwards last year because some of our grantees were longstanding grantees that had a solid track record in the past, but they were in flux, some things happened, and money was left on the table. So we don't want to get to a situation where we wait until June. There's no time, because we would like to send that money to people that have already spent, we can reallocate those funds and give it to other guys that like, hey, we still have an opportunity to do more programming. And that's really difficult to do in June. We ask you that you make some sort of claiming process, and if you don't, we will take money back. So now. There you go. Okay. So the review, like I said, we will randomly select a few of you to do a desk audit. It's not associated with other reviews we do here at Oregon Department of Ed. If you're selected, we will select one of your claims to verify. You copy or scan your invoices associated with that claim. Like I said, you keep them in one file, so you grab them, you send them to us, copies of them, and we do a desk audit. And so there's that. That's the reporting, or the review process. The reporting process. We have to report back to the legislature of the progress of this grant and the final outcome. So the reporting enables us to do so. So we have 2 reports that are due, and I saw a question about this flash through. So we have a progress report due September 30th, 2020, and a final report due on September 30, 2021. Now, I have a placeholder right now in the on the website that says a progress report is coming. I have it ready, but it's last year's, and I have to change the dates and resave it. It's in a PDF form. It'll be a PDF. It'll look kind of wonky because the survey you'll take is actually a Google form. We're getting away from Survey Monkeys because they're more. We used to be able to share it in our building, and we can't anymore. That's licensing requirements, so it's almost impossible to work with for a big agency. So it'll be a Google form, and it'll look very similar to the Google form, but what you want to do is within the next week, we'll have it on week or 2. I'll say 2 weeks. We'll have it on the website. You can print it out and have it at your ready so you can copy things and keep track of them during the life of the grant. You can, you don't have to go to the report and take the survey. That wouldn't work out really anyway. The survey times out and things like that. So you'll want a PDF copy to look at, but the survey won't go live until late summer, early fall, early September of 2020. We won't have that link on there, but we will have the PDF copy up within 2 weeks, so you could look at it. So yeah, it'll be a Google link to take your survey. The same process will happen next year for the final. We'll have after the progress report is done, we will have a copy of the final report on there, and then a link for the final report late summer or September 2021. Okay, we're getting down to the end of this already. We're doing really well. We're about 40 minutes into this. So we can help. You can reach out to us. We have 3 email addresses. We have a general email box that all of us can access. It's farm2cmp@ode.state.or.us or farm2cmp@state.or.us. Both should work, but you can talk to us individually, myself at rick.sherman@state.or.us or aj@amy.williams@state.or.us. And as I said, probably within a week, we're going to be able to hire our second assistant. So we'll have even more people to help out. So you can talk to us, and you guys do all the time. So thank you for that. Here's our why. This is us, equity and excellence. I'll let you look at that for a second. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to start going through all the questions. So if you haven't done a question yet, feel free to enter a question. And here's the next page of this. Okay, so questions, here we go. Okay, with the delay in the agreement letters, can the advances be done prior to? Thank you for that question. The answer is no. That is my next priority as of Monday. I'm still working on getting the procurement grant going, but Monday I should be able to get the first draft done and sent to our procurement department, and we will negotiate that process, and then it goes to DOJ, but it's not a legal thing until the agreement is done. So I can't commit, nor would EGMS. EGMS can't be set up until we get the agreements done. So there would be no way to get you the money until we get the agreements. So I apologize for the delay, but it looks like that's going to be the way. And honestly, I think it's with this grant, with getting everybody, last year was the first time for all the nonprofits. It was our first time to put nonprofits in EGMS, and it took quite a while last time to get everybody in. So we've been through that, and a lot of you are already in the system. But I think the biggest delay now is just the agreement process. So I just got to get done, and you have my commitment that that's my top priority. So, okay, Sarah has a question. So the agreement letter is not available to sign for a few more weeks. Probably not. Yes, it's not available right now, unfortunately. I mean, I had it ready in last June, but it's been determined that we need a different one. So, and it's not you guys are getting picked on. Everybody is getting picked on equally. We had to do this process with the 400 procurement sponsors, and matter of fact, EGMS is just going live for them as we speak right now, and they've been, gosh, it should have been September 1st. So, I mean, they were buying stuff, but I just couldn't. I could not commit to processing any claims until I got that done. So, I mean, you guys, so I can't give you any funds until that happens. So just to clarify, even if we're able to cover the costs and wait for reimbursement, We cannot spend funding. Yeah, if you're able to cover the costs and wait for reinvending, we can't process the claims until the agreement is in place. I think that's the official language there you're looking for. Okay. Oh, Patty. Hi, Patty. I just sent you an email, by the way. I don't see the final report evaluation. Okay, right. I just talked about this. There's a placeholder for it. I just need to change the dates and get the new one up. I have it ready to go. I just need to make sure all our questions are correct. I have people check, like our Oregon Farm to School and School Garden Network, that like always has a last minute tweak too, but I think it's ready to go. I'll confer with AJ and we'll get a new one ready. Yeah, and you will get it early in the process. I mean, I'll get it up there very soon, next week or two at the most. Okay, Sheila, who do we contact to make sure we're all set with EGMS if we're already in the system from last grant period? Your best bet would be AJ, Amy.Williams, who you've talked to before, because she's my go-to person. She manages that EGM system for me, and that would be best to see if you're in there. And then, yeah, that would be the best one to see if there's anything else you have to do. Renee, please clarify, if we take an advance for materials purchases to avoid credit card interest, does that mean we can't do other claims for, say, payroll until all the advance? Yeah, so we do one advance if you guys want to do one, and before you can submit a regular claim, we have to justify that. Like we have to justify, we have to see the invoices for what you've purchased on. So that's a good point. Let's say if you wanted to have an advance for some charge that's going to be at the end of the grant, don't do that, because we have to justify that before you do. It's meant for people to get started with something like right at the start of the grant that have no capital, have no money. So to get going to do that. It is a reimbursement grant, and you can, like we have 25%, it can be an advance, but it's meant just to give you a start. So it should be those costs that we can justify right away. Then as soon as we get them justified, you can start on your claims, and get you going. Okay, Whitney says, we are a participant of EGMS through Early Learning Division. It is, EGMS is EGMS, so you are in there, but my understanding is there might be, you probably still would have to get the packet and fill it out, because there might be different people in there listed as the project director. You have to be the project director or the agency head or the financial person. So if they're all the same people, you're good to go. You can talk to Amy, and she can double check with you on that, just to make sure. Jenny says, you mentioned that the funding is tied to the school year. We are planning to do summer programs with youth. Yes, definitely, it's okay. But Jenny, just make sure summer programs for its school year, but it's a fluid. It's a 2 school year thing. So it's this school year and next school year. So this school year goes through June, and next school year starts July 1. So that's totally fine. So this summer is great. You can do stuff all through this summer, and you're good to go. The following school year, 2021, no, because it ends June 30th. So most summer programs, maybe you might be able to get a week in there, but this school year, yes. Next school year, no. Right? You get what I mean? This summer, yes. Next summer, no. Okay. Patty, do you send the attestation form to me, Rick? You could send it. Probably the best thing would be farm2cmp@state.or.us. Or it goes to all of us, or you could send it to myself or Amy. But either one of those, it'll be fine. Okay. Renee says, whoops. You also mentioned planning directly related to activities falls under activities and not admin. Yes, which was contrary to what others, well, it's not contrary to what I've said before, but we have had different changes over the years in this, but we understand the fact that it might be impossible to run a program without some sort of planning. What we want to avoid is using this grant to just pay for overhead, all the dollars not going to kids. So if it's going to activities and you're doing activities and you need to do some planning for those activities, that's fine. But if you're doing other planning that's not related to those activities, it needs to go into the other column, and that could be something like your staff meetings about the program, or funding, going to the school garden summit, or something like that. So if it's tied to the activity, then it's good. Makes me nervous though, just saying. I hate to go, the legislator wants to make sure the funds are going to kids. So try to tie it into the activity as best you can. So another question, if we request the advance, approximately when should we expect the check to begin? Well, it depends. Well, like I said, we have to get the agreements done first, and that's going to be a couple weeks at the earliest. And then we need to get EGMS set up. We need to hand enter the 24 of you guys in there. That wouldn't take too long. But once EGMS is set up and the agreements are in place, we have everything from you in terms of the agreements and the attestation form that you watched this video. You send in a claim to us. We process it. It usually takes a week to 10 days to get your money. Once we process the claim, it takes about 5 to 10 days, I guess. So, okay. Jeff, do all awards need to be in an Excel reimbursement form, or are these only? No, yeah, all your grant claims need to be submitted on an Excel reimbursement claim. It's easier for us to keep track. We take those items and we can put them on master sheets. I don't want to deal with, it's too hard for me. Like if you've seen invoices, if I need to see first of all what the items are, and it's hard for me to discern that out of the invoice and try to make heads or tails. And that way, if you write them in an Excel form, I can tell easily, and you're explaining what they are. So I make sure they're allowable. Then I tell you the number is okay to enter in EGMS. Okay, and the second part of that, do awards need an Excel reimbursement form, or these? Yeah, you just said the same thing twice. Yes, you need to submit an Excel reimbursement form in order to get paid. Yeah, no problem. Michelle, if we can cover costs to spend now, what is the date of that it officially starts? I don't have a date that it officially starts. I mean, officially, I've notified you have an award, but we have to get the agreements in. So, for example, we are eventually going to request reimbursements for education staff. So that date did start at 1/1/20, or that date would start on the date of the agreement is being signed. Oh, I see what you're saying. You can go retroactively back to 1/1/20. That would, or whenever we gave you the initial award announcement, that's fine, but we can't process any of the claims until we get EGMS set up and the agreement back. But yeah, you can go retroactive back to the start of the grant period. Jenny Rudolph. So the agreement isn't ready prior to the Farm to School Conference. We won't be able to be reimbursed. We cannot process the claims. I mean, it's kind of on you guys if you're doing stuff, but we can't process agreements until we can't process claims until the agreements and EGMS are set up. Okay. I'm glad you guys are asking these questions. That means you're paying attention. That is like my most important comment about this too. So for subawards, can these be included in the advance or only as reimbursement? Sarah, maybe you could send me an email about that specific, because I'm thinking subawards is like somebody else that's working with you. I'm thinking there's no restrictions on it as far as an advance. So whatever you submit in advance, you just have to justify. So I think I'm answering your question there. So you could do that. Okay. And then you had a follow-up, last question, how would a subaward grant work? We have funding to support purchasing supplies for our food bank and supporting their staffs. I think, well, that subawards, that's a good question. We do have a few of you. I know like Oregon Beef is working with Food Corps and Utopia or whatever. So the money is going to you, and then it's up to you to pay your sub-grantees. If you have a partner on the claim and you have it in your budget, it's up to you to pay. We're paying you guys for everything. We're not going to pay a whole bunch of different people. We're going to pay one person in EGMS. That's a really good question. I don't think we've ever had that come up before, and we've just done that. So thanks for asking it. But yeah, it's going to come to you, and you guys pay them. So however your system is. AJ, okay, AJ just said, just to be clear and avoid confusion, Amy and AJ are interchangeable, same. Well, I do have it, to be fair, I have an Amy for Amy Gilroy, which is my counterpart, and so we've renamed my Amy AJ, just so, because it keeps me sane. And there's a whole bunch of other Amy's. There's way too many Amy's. So AJ and Amy, yeah. Amy Jean is AJ. Sorry about that. Yeah, so that is her. Any other questions? Because it is at the very end. I've been blathering on. I have 3 minutes left. Are there any other questions? Type them away. And if you don't get one to me, please, please, please just send me an email, and I will get back with you. Jenny's question, reply to expenses incurred starting 12/20/19 are reimbursable. Understanding claims can't be made until agreements are placed. They're reimbursable, but we just can't process the reimbursement until the claim is made. So it's reimbursement back retroactive to whenever the start of this was, when we you got your agreement, your acceptance letter, whatever it's called. Yeah. So yeah, it's reimbursable, but not until we can't process the reimbursement until we get everything. Okay, everybody, as I said before, I'm going to record this, and I'm going to send the recording out to everybody just so you can listen to it again and again and again. Just have it going at night, and I can put you to sleep. Oh, wait, a couple more. Is the advance a one-time option? Yeah, one advance. We only do one, and please get them into me soon, within the next couple weeks. Also, we budgeted for money for a general garden supplies for each school we work with. Can we send a school a check to make purchases directly and then get reimbursement from you, or do we need to make those purchases directly ourselves? I think that's up to you, Denise. I think regardless of how you do it, I mean, you can certainly do that, but we need the receipts. So if they buy the stuff, have them, I wouldn't send them a check you're responsible for getting us the receipts. We still need to see what the items are. So that's a stipulation. So I don't think a check for supplies would really do it, like to circumvent that process. They would just have to understand that they need to save the receipts and give it to you, but you could certainly do that. Okay, it's 12:30. I'm gonna leave. If you have any other questions, please send them to me. Thank you so much for listening and being here. Appreciate it. And goodbye.